What were some times when you died inside? That time I left school while chatting to friends and spotted my mum's car. Got in said car and uttered the usual thanks for picking me up mum, only to realize that it was not in fact my mum's car, but a complete stranger and their family. I was on a school trip to a preschool and I had bad gas. I was chilling on the floor and this little girl jumped on my stomach and I ripped ass, so ducking hard. My girlfriend decided she liked my best friend more, broke up with me, tried to get with him but he friend-zoned her right off the bat. It was sad for a long time but now I think it's hilarious. I crochet and my old boss at work asked me for a scarf. He requested lilac, which I thought was odd, but he was super insistent and even sent me a color chart pointing out the exact shade he wanted. I bought the yarn and made him a scarf, but then ran into him and mentioned the scarf again and he started cracking up saying he was joking. Definitely embarrassing, but I'm glad I didn't actually bring it with me and give him the scarf only to find out he was being an asshole. I wound up giving it to another co-worker who was watching the whole thing play out and she was super appreciative. Being 45 minutes into a 1-hour drive to a meeting to realize you left the main reason for the meeting at home. I was supposed to fill in for the coach of my son's soccer team this weekend, but plans changed. This morning I told my son I wouldn't be coaching his team on Saturday. He said, "Good," dead inside. Walked halfway across campus before a random dude let me know that I had a string of toilet paper hanging out of the back of my pants. There was poop. Just kill me. 6th grade all-day field trip to SeaWorld Orlando. Surprise period through my white shorts. All the moms who wanted to help only had tampons. I was 11 and had no idea how to use them. There ensued an embarrassing crash course. I was devastated until random dad saved the day by giving me his windbreaker to tie around my waist and told me to go have fun. Thanks random field trip dad. You saved the day. I had a customer who was holding and examining an awkward, fragile, and expensive item with one hand. I asked her to please hold it with two. She turned to look at me. She only had one arm. Once created a painting for a friend. Hung it up on the door to my apartment as a surprise. It was easily bypassed. He asked, "What's with people around here? You let people put itty vacation ads on your door?" Never again. For those asking, I live in West Virginia. It was a painting of one of our favorite spots we would seek when hiking. This happened in Morgantown and it's called Blue Hole. Not really sure of the actual name of the river. He showed me the place. Lots of people go swimming there, but he knew a secret spot. It was a view from the exit of the trees of our favorite area. Honestly, a lot of people had things like that in Morgantown and around the state, which is why I think he easily overlooked it. I did not tell him at that time. I was so embarrassed. I was glad he didn't figure it out. Eventually I did tell him when we were drunk. Yay, liquid courage, and I could see everything click in his head. He was sorry but we've gotten past it. Edit for spelling and context. Interviewing a potential student who is interested in my school. He has a huge green circle around his eye. Whoa, quite a black eye. What did you do? I was born like this. Was on a TV quiz show and totally ducked up. Died inside when it was aired. Having to repeat a clever off-the-cuff joke because the person was focusing on their phone. When you're having a conversation with your friends and you keep getting talked over like you never said anything, and by the time someone does acknowledge you the subject has changed, so they all give you a weird look for being so behind, and it keeps happening and you realize that these people aren't really your friends, you're just kind of there. Last year a work friend of mine died. After his funeral, a large group of us went to a pub to have a few drinks in remembrance of him. Someone suggested to get a group photo of everyone there. I was asked to take the photo. It probably shouldn't have bothered me as much as it did, but it did. I received a set of boxes in the mail with no return address on a Monday morning. When I opened the boxes I started noticing stuff that is my mom's, her handwriting on notes. This seems to be some sort of care package from my mom. Was in college at the time. As I opened more, there were all these documents. I was confused. Then I found the note. My mom committed suicide but planned it all out. She sent me a list of things to take care of now that she's gone. Now I hate getting packages. At a company event, as we left, my colleagues were nowhere to be found as I walked outside, so I waited there. Turns out they were taking a group photo without me. One night after going to a concert with one of my friends and I dropped him off at his house, as he was getting out of the car, he started looking for something. When I asked him what he was looking for, he said, "I think I lost my weed." He had about a half an eighth left in a baggie, and gave up after looking around a bit, concluding he lost it at the show. Cut to 10 minutes later, and I, on the way home, got pulled over for not coming to a full stop at a stop sign. As the cop approached the car, the thought of my friend's lost bag crossed my mind. The cop went through the usual routine, asked for my license and registration, asked where I'd been that evening, have I had anything to drink, is there anything in the car he needed to know about. I answered everything flawlessly, but then as he's standing there, I see something catch his eye as he's looking in, and he shined a flashlight inside on it, and asked, "What's that?" I died inside when I looked over and saw, perfectly framed in the spotlight, my friend's bag of weed on the passenger side floor. How he didn't find it while looking around I'll never understand. Somehow, I was able to articulate my case that it wasn't my weed but my dumbass friend's well enough that he took pity on me and just confiscated it and let me off with a warning for that, plus a $70 ticket for the stop sign. When my mother told me on my wedding day not to lose this man because no one could ever love me, same day telling me in my wedding dress not to gain any more weight because if I have a baby I'd basically be fat forever. When I was 14 and super sick one summer I couldn't eat, was down below 100 pounds. My mom told me I should go put a bikini on so she could take photos because I'd never be that skinny again. I had just fainted a couple hours earlier because I hadn't been able to eat. She just oozed all her own insecurities all over me my whole life. My husband and I have been married almost 16 years. He has spent our entire marriage undoing all of the damage he has done. He's a saint. Watched lesbian porn and accidentally casted it onto the main TV in the living room, where my parents were watching TV on. Introducing myself to my mom every time I visit her and explaining to her that I'm her son. Every single time. I found a resident at my work, CNA, crying and when asked what was wrong he responded, "I have baby brains." For some context, I work at a traumatic brain injury center. For these types of people, this is their permanent home, and coming from someone who is usually caught in a 3-sentence loop, the self-realization was something I didn't think he was capable of. Feel Spudman JPEG. I've told this story before, but there was a time when I knew I was coming down with what I was sure was going to be an absolute bastard of a cold, already beginning to feel a little fuzzy in the brain. I decided to make myself some chicken soup in advance to get me through the worst of it. I chopped some carrots, chopped some onions, threw in a chicken carcass and over the course of about 4 hours made the most bomb stock you could imagine. Then my dumbass poured it through a colander directly into the sink. It took me a good 30 seconds before I realized what I'd done. Then I just sat on the kitchen floor for about 10 minutes, gazing at the opposite wall and wishing real life had a Control-Z function. 5th grade spelling bee. I made it to the school-wide level, which was the 3rd round in. First I had to beat my own class, then beat the other 5th grade classes, and next was the whole school. My first word was biscuit. Easy. My second word was soccer. Also easy, except for the fact that I was a bit nervous being up on stage, with the whole school in attendance, including my mom who was there for support. It got in my head a little bit. I heard soccer and thought, okay, this is easy. Remember, there are 2 C's in soccer. 2 C's. 2 C's. Step up to the microphone. C. O. Instantly knew what I did. Facer palmed myself in front of everyone. Dead inside. Despite this realization, and the fact I had already lost, my brain kept the letters mixed up and I spelled the rest of the word, SSER, Cossa. Any Cossa fans here? Or, as you may call it in your country, buttful? Setting, junior high. Status, awkward preteen. Style, liked cats. Very shy. Walked out of the school bathroom. Noticed after a bit that the popular girl in school was watching me, giving me a strange look. She then approached me and wordlessly pulled my skirt out of my underwear that I'd just tidily tucked in with the rest of my uniform. Then just walked away to avoid my shame, as I'd just been walking around with my panties showing. Every single time a user says, "But I'm not a computer person." You sit at this machine 8 hours a day and work on it for your job. Why is it so much trouble to type your password incorrectly? Once bought a bottle of Pepsi in a meal deal but didn't have space to put it in my bag. In my infinite wisdom, I decided to pour the contents into my reusable water bottle so I wouldn't have to carry both bottles. It was one of them bottles that has the straw in it and you flip the top up when you want a drink. Opened it in a little hardware store later in the day and the gas had built up in the bottle and it spurted out like a water gun all over the wall and ceiling. I was so embarrassed and tried my best to clean it up for them, but all the staff could do was laugh. One of them told me I was stood in the perfect spot for the CCTV to pick it up and he would be watching it back later. Edit. I'm so glad that it turns out I'm not the only idiot who has done something like this. I go back and forth between my mom's and dad's house. Court ordered, and I have for years. I switch houses every Sunday at about 7 PM. I was playing in the yard with my dog, waiting for her to get there, and when she did, we drove home. I had just gotten out of the car and walked inside of my mom's house when she got a call. She handed me the phone, and apparently, seconds after we drove away my dog had a heart attack and died. They rushed him to the vet but they couldn't save him. I never got to say goodbye. So my nephew is called Dominic. I have a bunch of nicknames for him like Dom, Dommy, Domatron, Domazos, Dominatrix. Yeah, no one for ages told me what it meant, until my husband explained it to me when I was talking about him. Like I used that name in front of people no one told me. I feel so stupid now as like duh it's obvious. Thanks for the love and the crack up stories. I feel less of an idiot. For those who are asking to explain what it means. Whips and stuff women dominate are pretty much NSFW. Edit spelling that has been pointed out. When our beloved cat developed a cancerous tumor and had to be put to sleep, the vet asked if I'd like to hold him as he was euthanized. Foolishly, I said that I would, wanting to be with him until the last second of his life, not realizing the emotional impact it would have. I know it sounds overly sentimental, but it felt as though part of me died with him that moment. Even as I type this, I'm reliving it. Think I am late and this will get buried, but when I was in high school I used to swim competitively. So speedos, hat, etc etc. One morning session I was running a bit late and got changed super quick and went out to the poolside with my gear getting ready for the training session. When one of the girls, who I happened to fancy at the time, informed me that one of my testicles was hanging out the side of my speedos. I thought it felt a bit breezy as I ran out the changing room but never crossed my mind what had happened. I look back and laugh about it now, but my god, the embarrassment at the time. I still wonder how many others saw and didn't say anything. Ha ha ha. Picking up the body of our 3-year-old cat after a hit and run. I rescued him at a few hours old after his mother rejected him and attacked him. We bottle fed, replaced his hot water bottle and pooped him, don't ask, every 2 hours. Including through the night, for weeks. Against all the odds, he survived to be the most loving and affectionate cat I've ever known. He was so obsessed with us because we were effectively his mummy and he was never weaned. And that morning I got the call he'd been killed by a car. I tried to pick him up, but his lifeless body was so floppy and heavy, but familiarly warm. I thought I would drop him. I will never forget that feeling. Also all the while knowing I was going to have to tell my husband and our 2 small children. In the 7th grade, I got my back to school clothes. For some reason, I thought yellow pants and a yellow Hawaiian shirt looked awesome. I was excited to wear this new outfit. We were not wealthy, so having new clothes like this was a big deal for me. Sitting in my English class I received a note. It said, "Are you the mustard man?" and was signed by every person in the ducking class, and as I read it, they all burst out in laughter. All of them. It's a moment in life where you have to laugh or cry, and either way you die inside. I chose to laugh. Kids are cruel. When I was about 9 I was in a school assembly, all 400 students and all teachers. At our school assemblies the students sat cross-legged on wooden floor in the sports hall. Well, I had to fart, and I assumed it would be quiet. It was not. It ended up being extremely loud and was amplified by the wooden floor. I guess my birthday, since my dad died an hour before it, my uncle died the night of it, really the early morning after, and my aunt almost died on it but managed to make it another month. Separate birthday years at least. I tried to kiss my crush during 6. She turned away, made me feel like it and ruined the mood. I've told this story before, but when I was 8 years old we took a field trip to the Field Museum here in Chicago. During our lunch break I decided to wander off to the gift shop and see what they had. I had a huge crush on this girl named Victoria in my class and I saw this ladybug ring on sale for a couple of dollars. I knew she liked ladybugs and I had money my parents gave me to buy something at the shop. So I decided to buy the ring and give it to her. I was really nervous and kept waiting for the right time to do it. I eventually decided to just go for it and walked up to her near the end of the trip. She was with some of her friends which made me more nervous, but I finally found the courage to do it. She looked at the ring and laughed. Her friends joined her and she then tossed the ring in the trash. I was completely devastated and tried hard to hold back my tears. Even though I'm over it now, that completely ducked my confidence with girls for a long time. Looking back, I may have embarrassed her too giving it to her in front of her friends, which is why she reacted that way. But whatever the case, it's probably the most embarrassed I have been in my life. When my cousin, almost brother, died from a weird disease, and all our family members who'd watched us grow up together and be inseparable, would look at me with pity and silent compassion, it just made me feel worse every time. They still do it every now and then, even though tomorrow will be 3 years since he passed, and it still makes me feel awful. In 4th grade, my school had a fundraiser around Valentine's Day where you could buy a carnation for $1 or a rose for $2. It would then be delivered with a message to the person of your choosing. I liked a boy in my class, so I decided to buy him a rose and write a note from his secret admirer. Well, I couldn't wait for the rose to be delivered, so I wrote a note and slid it under his book when he got up to go to the bathroom. His friend saw because I'm about as stealthy as an elephant on roller skates. Friend took the note, read it out loud when the boy got back. The rose came not long after. The boy took it, looked at me, snapped the rose in half, and threw it in the trash. Also there was the recurring instance of being the target of my friend likes you. EWWWW no I don't. Does wonders for a girl's self-esteem, especially since my mom continued the insults at home lol. When all of my friends knew my ex was cheating and told me half a month after, solidified by the fact that my ex only apologized for sticking his D inside a girl after he heard I found out. I haven't been the same person since then tbh. Edgy I know, it really changed me. When I went to the pool with my family, my aunt forgot my cousin's activity access card. Basically, in our town you get this one kind of ID card where it allows you to get books at the library, prove you live in the town, and in this case, go to the pool for free all summer. Otherwise you paid $10, and she's usually the chillest person ever. I assume she's gonna pay it and so take my 10 years old cousin towards the female side of the changing rooms. Hey, you are not going anywhere, insert cousin name here until I fix this with this bitch. I turn around. My aunt starts yelling Karen style at this poor summer worker that must be about 14 that she always comes to this pool and it's unacceptable to make her pay when they always have the card. My cousin had to stay and watch through the gates because she couldn't go in and my aunt just took the car and left. I paid so she could come in with us instead of crying her eyes out cause her mom can't be damned to pay $10. She came back huffing with the card and nearly threw it at the employee before even realizing her daughter wasn't in front of but into the pool. She didn't even look for her. I wanted to die. I lent my savings to my father, who spent them on duck knows what. I had to accept that he can't face telling you as a fair answer so never truly got closure, and lied to me about it for a year. My boyfriend killed himself after 5 years of what felt like a loving relationship. Then I discovered he'd been cheating on me with an objectively disgusting person. When I realized I'd chosen the wrong degree again, and was either going to be stuck in a career which didn't suit me at all, finance, or had to start again, yet again. Accidentally sent a picture of my tits to my family WhatsApp group instead of my guy. My mum replied by sending a recipe for Yorkshire puddings. Nothing big in particular, but every time I say hello to someone and I am being left without a response, I feel awkward, and every time it happens, I die a little inside. When my dad told me he was obligated to love me, but he didn't have to like me, I was 10, and I was absolutely crushed. When parents get into a heated fight in front of their children, and you can see the terror and hurt in their eyes. I asked a blind man if he wanted to play darts with me. It was summer and we were in a resort, and obviously everybody was wearing sunglasses. I couldn't take a no for an answer, so I think I asked him at least 5 times before he finally said, "Mate, I'm blind." When we were about 18, my friend told me that his mom had just been caught cheating on his dad and how it was going to tear the family apart. I remember him even saying, "I hate my mom for this. She's just a ducking slut." Later that evening a few of us went for a drink. I arrived late and got some drinks in. As I sat down, the same lad was telling the group, "I hate her. She's just a ducking slut." So I said, "Oh, I see you've told them about your mom then. It's so bad that she could do that to your dad." He was talking to them about some girl we know, but now everyone realized I had slipped up about something big and he ended up having to tell everyone. Was on a Skype call for work with about 25 other people. Had the mic on my computer turned all the way up and was typing on my computer almost continuously. About 15 minutes into the meeting, someone finally IMs me to turn off my mic because nobody could hear what was being said. Every time I have to do a presentation at school, I'm an introvert, so this isn't exactly my preferred type to go in front of my whole classroom and talk, but I generally manage to do the job. Although, every time fumble my words or just stop talking, I die inside a little of embarrassment and my heart beats so fast that it might just pop out of my chest. Thankfully everyone in my class and even the teachers themselves are really nice and understanding about it, especially because most of them have fear of public speaking too. Not as deep as many others, but there was a time I had a group presentation, and none of my group had read the book we were presenting. So I had to frantically write index cards for them to read off of before our presentation. But our teacher sniffed it out and started asking them questions. While I tried to whisper the answers to them, we did not do well, and I realized my friends were idiots. I was in a busy post office with my daughter, who was a 3 at the time. I was wearing track pants and going commando. I was talking to the clerk and my daughter pulled my pants down right to my ankles. I thought I was going to die of embarrassment. The entire lineup of people behind me saw my bare ass. My sister started making TikToks and quoting long dare memes. She doesn't do it ironically.